This is Justin Amazon on Tuesday, January 8th, 2019, with a look at the pre-market today. As Amazon continued moving up, pre-market, a little bit after hours, a little more pre-market, and it was a little disappointing actually to see it already almost this line. Just the fact that we're not going to be able to trade it bullish up there unless you held something overnight. And so, what happened is obviously it's gapping up, bullish retest gap. And as it opens, it runs right into 1665, runs right through it, pulls back. And it's like, okay, the next line, I can see a little hint of something there. Actually, that might be the downtrend line I drew on a daily. Because I don't think there's another line this close. I think the next one's 17 something. But anyway, right here, it's like, you know what? It's too high, too fast, similar to these days where it just had to pause, it just had to pause. We're already above this line. We're already through this no man's land. It's like this, I don't think this has a chance to continue higher. It's almost has to pull back some. And the next level to pull back to is our line at 1617.54. It's like, what if that happens, And so pre-market we had a squeeze, it fired, but it's already losing bullish momentum. And then we're starting to pull back, make a new low on the day, get a little bit of a retest. This is great that we got this move. The high is 1665.06. The line is 1665.27. We've almost retested to that line. So if you didn't short it up here, you had another opportunity here to short it at the line, a retest from below, like we've seen. Which one was it? I think it was a couple days ago. Well, kind of one here, but we had a retest from below. Maybe this one. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking this line or this level that we retested and ran back down to the low on the day. We've already made a new low on the day, so we should get back to 1665. And then some. It's like the next level is maybe retesting the high from yesterday, 1633. And then from there, 1617.54 is the target. So we start to roll over, get a little retest there of the low, and nope, we just continue on down. There we go. Within the first hour and a half of the day, we've come down to a low of, that's not the candle, there it is, 1616.61. So the line is 1617.54. We've pushed down by almost $1 below. And we've come right into this level that was support a lot yesterday. It's the top level of these four lines. It could hold. If not, then maybe this one will bounce. But what ends up happening is this one holds. And we just continue up and chop around the rest of the day, moving back almost up to 1665 to close on the day. So there you go, 1650s on the day. But the big move was this pullback and then the bounce from here back up and then taking profits anywhere in here being up. We almost hit 1665. What I'm seeing here now is a bit of a triangle on this day. You can kind of draw it. Actually, let me draw it this way. So what I was picturing is something like this, and then if you take similar angle to that, like this, I like these symmetric triangles. That's kind of what I'm picturing. I'm kind of discounting this, but I'm kind of not, because this was what we needed to have for a pullback. But I like that we've kind of just gone sideways, just consolidated on the day. We've got some squeezes that have formed, didn't really do anything, and then another one forming here. And what this could do is consolidate in here below this line and then pop above it to continue higher. Or this could be our rollover, so we got up here, here's a quick retest, we're going to get another retest, and we'll roll back down some. Probably pulling back into some of these levels and even further is easily possible. Switching back over to the daily. So I just drew this in yesterday and it's already working. We rejected, the high here. We came right into this. And on the 5 minute with extended hours, it's not as clean. But I mean, where this crosses the 1665, I mean, that was a really nice target. I wish I had this drawn in from back here to say, hey, what if we hit that, you know? Because, it's a lot easier to buy some options with a little more time and hold them through a lot more of this rather than just doing a day trade on it. But that's where my focus is at with doing the day trade on the 5 minute and seeing what can become of it. So taking it back in on the day, this is the calls. Had you been looking for that even $1,000, $10 price per option, you could have been getting in 10 by 9 at that 16, 17, 54 price, getting in there and just holding on until, it, even at the end of the day, you still would have been up. But, what it did is it came back up almost to the low at the open of the option price. So it came almost up to 2130. This had a high of 2070, 2075, 2079. So, going from 10 to 20, you're doubling the option, and that's a 10-hour trade just right there. And you had another opportunity to get out here had you gotten in, at any of these other pullbacks, or had you just flipped it, got in at the low, got out at this high. I think this is the level it was almost getting to 1665. So you can see that this is relatively flat, even though the 5 minute was still moving up from this point to this point. If we look at puts now, the puts way up here, just after the open, were pretty flat. I mean, we put in some lows in here under 12, 1172, 1150, 1153. Easily could have set up something to buy 12 by 11. This was that retest of the 1665 from below. That one was a low of 1335, which would have gotten back into, just about into this candle, 1334. So, you could easily set up something related to this candle's range or a pullback here, or gotten in 12 by 11 and just held on to that to the next target of 16, 17, 54. And, if you had set up, my guess is if you had set up a trade, to get you out at the stock price, whatever the option price was at that point, you should have been getting out around 32. Maybe a little higher, maybe 33. I mean, I don't know. I didn't trade this, which I wish I had just had gotten in at. I wish I had gotten in at 12 by 11, and held on for 20R on like I said, within the first hour and a half of the day, because that was what we were talking about with having something move up here and then seeing if we'll pull back from that channel high. It just did it very, very, very quickly. But this was the retest. It was a sharp retest because we've had a lot of bullishness in here. We had this sort of a bullish retest, inside candle, bullish gap and go, bullish retest, another bullish retest at a clear pivot point, both on the horizontal and also on this downtrend. So I'm not saying it's done going up here. It would be phenomenal if it continued up and either got back up to this high, so it's even with these 1784 here, 1778.34 here. If we get up into the high 1700s, I'm not saying the downtrend is broken, but it'd be a great level for it to move up to, because this has been so bullish. If it has some more bullish momentum, it should push into the 1700s, just the way this has been going. We had a little spit higher than the upper downtrend channel back here when we were attempting to make another all-time high and failed. That rolled over, and that's really what kind of started us on this downtrend. I'm kind of seeing if we do that here, it could do a bit of a curve up into the 1700s and then come back down. And it's just a matter of how far is it going to come back down. Is it going to hold this level then, which it didn't do here? Or is it going to come all the way back down and this time get into the 1200s or even lower? Let's see. Could we come back down over the next, can I not move this to the right? I can't move that to the right. Into later this month and next month, could we come all the way back down and get down to 1200 something? Is that possible? We're at a really clear decision point here. It's somewhat of a hammer, which we want to see one of these down at a low, see one at a high. It's a very similar candle to this one, where we gapped up, traded down and up, and end of the day bullish on this one, and then we had a bearish gap and go that continued us lower. With this one, it was a bearish retest, just like this one, and it's at a clear point that it could just pull back and drop. So that's what my gut is saying. It's going to pull back. If it continues higher, there's going to be some folks that are trapped, some of the bears that are trapped, especially if we get above these levels here. So the high on this one is 1704.99. If we clear that, that's what I was talking about, these candles. Where we cleared that, it's like we really shouldn't be up here. That was the idea. If we clear these highs, if we get back up to the 1700s, it's like, it feels like we really shouldn't be up here. We shouldn't have moved from nearly 1300 up to 1700 so quickly. Even when we went from the bottom of this trend channel the first time up to the top of it, it took from end of July to beginning of September. And then even going back down to the bottom of it took till end of October. So that took, a little more than a month to go up, 2 months actually to go down. Didn't quite make it back up. Just looking at the timing of this, it's like going from this low to this high in a matter of like really 2 to 3 trading weeks. With some holidays in there, it's like, that's just so quick. We did it quicker here. And then that's the quickest we did. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days. Similar amount of time to go from this low to this high as it was from this low to this high. If we pull back, we should see something like this where we have a sharp pullback, consolidate, and then continue to roll over. That would be pull back probably into the 21 here, or should at least be the 5 exponential, maybe the 21. They'd be dropping about 100 points to get back down here. Then some consolidation in this range, and then a decision point. If it's going to do a triangle like this one, will it break out? Will that be really the end of the downtrend? Or will it do that consolidation and then break down like this one did and very quickly made it down to this new low? It really depends on what some of the overall market's doing, what the sentiment is with everything going on in the post-Christmas. We really did have a post-Christmas rally, but there's a lot of things that technos are telling us for how this really could move. So, just stay nimble, be ready to see how we interact with some of these levels. And, the other thing we could do right here is have an inside candle in this no man's land and go sideways a little bit and build up some momentum here. And if we don't really sell off, that's going to bode well for bulls, because we'll just consolidate here. And it means people are ready to buy, even at this level, looking for a move higher. And they should have some tight stops, which if those get hit, then it'll be moving down quickly. But some consolidation here would be nice for it to just kind of have some rest after this large of a move. So we'll see if it's more polarizing than that or not. But come back in here on the puts. The puts just lost value, just went sideways through here. This isn't really giving us much signal other than just some consolidation. I'm looking at the 1625 put just because it had a really nice level here at open. If you look at the 1650 put, that was a little more expensive, and it's a little harder to get a $100 risk in that when you've got some wicks that are a little more sizable here. And then going all the way down to the 1600 put, this still could have worked. The range even on this candle was 85 cents. So you could have just bracketed that and that would have worked, or gotten in on a retest back into, back close to that. I guess it didn't actually pull all the way back into the candle. Whoa, that just jumped. Sorry about that. Not even sure how I did that. Okay, back to that. This is always moving. There we go. Okay, so it's just not as clean with a little bit more of a range on the lows in here. But still possible to get in at 7, a stop down at 6, and getting in by this candle should have worked. And then just didn't have as much of the reward. So, at this point, at this high, we were still $17 out of the money, and it's just harder for it to move $75. I'm not saying I could have picked this high. I really wanted it to hold a 1665 high, but going from here, 1676.61 all the way down to be at the 1600 strike on the option, that's much harder to do than what we did coming into 1625. This one actually got in the money a little bit, before it rallied. So before the stock rallied. So going from here, we're right around, holding these lows, kind of relatively flat on the puts. The spread was probably worse on this because there's not as much volume. Just the price was really nice here, and so we were only being a Tuesday, we were only a few dollars in the money when this high was hit here. But very quickly, as the stock rallied, we lost a lot of value here because we got out of the money so quickly. So being in the money to probably around at the money to out of the money, the value just got sucked out of this thing, and it closed relatively flat on the day. The option did, with a lot of movement in between, and then the calls actually lost value. Because we did end up having a bearish candle, but we opened up here and closed way down here. So, we had a kind of a worse move on the calls than we did on the puts, just by, where the values ended up. So, it helped a little bit having a bearish day on the daily, but, that's just kind of where the options ended up. So we lost a little, seems like we lost a little more premium on the calls. But, that's also because we've been running up so much, having any sort of pullback going against the value of the calls is going to drain a little bit more of the money out of them. So anyway, hope that all makes sense. We'll look for this triangle to do something. Looks like we're pretty flat after hours too. So we'll see if we have any sort of decision made with a pre-market gap. Gapping up would be a bullish gap and go, could totally continue up. Gapping down would be a bearish retest, and has this triangle to kind of retest up into the 1650s, and then roll over. If it does come back up and retest 1665.54, 1665.27. If it gets back up and retests this, that could actually be kind of a false break of this triangle, false bullish breakout of the triangle, and could still roll over from there. So be careful of this level. It's a really key level. And then, a move back down to 1617.54 would be great, especially if we can, go from here to here in less than 90 minutes like we did today. But we'll see if something like that happens. Would not put it past this market to do something like that, just because we have some patterns really work out well. That we'll go back to it here. This inverted head and shoulders here really played out well. I was kind of re-measuring this, going from around 14, let's call it 1487 with a low at 1307. Let me get the calculator up. And I don't think this shows on the recording, but 1487 minus 1307 is 180. Add that back into 1487, and you get 1667. And we just hit 1676. So the measured move of really this high to this low, this being a neckline here, actually did play out as a move that brought us right into this level. So we've gone that move, we've gone that far. It's a little easier to see probably in an hourly, maybe. Okay, so here's our inverted head and shoulders. Here's our neckline. We had to retest the neckline. Maybe a bit of a slant on that. But if you take the measure move from 1487 to 1307, and add that onto this level, that's what we just completed today. And we're back up at this level here. So essentially we've completed what would be the inverted head and shoulders. So that's all I want to point out on this. It's easier to see it because so much time has passed in the 5 minute. It's just easier to get that look on the hourly. But back here in the 5 minute, we could totally pause up here. We've completed that kind of a move. That's a really good signal down there at that level. Makes me wish I bought more options, a little more time out, like I was saying, down here thinking, oh, I've got this target way up here that seems reasonable for that being an inverted head and shoulders, and seeing that play out, it's like, okay, yep, that's confirmation of what I should have done before. That would have had a really, really small risk, really big reward to it. So anyway, hope that all makes sense, and we'll continue to track some more tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.